There is a reason one person keeps coming back into your mind, and it is probably deeper than you think. Not just a random memory, not just boredom, not just loneliness on a quiet night. Some connections leave a mark so strong that even when life moves forward, a part of you still turns back and listens for their presence. You can be busy, smiling, working, talking, living your normal day, then suddenly, out of nowhere, their face appears in your thoughts, their voice echoes in your chest, and a memory you did not ask for starts playing again. That does not happen for no reason. Stay with me, because this may explain more than you expected. Sometimes the heart notices what the mind is still trying to deny. Sometimes your soul keeps holding on to something your logic cannot fully explain. And if you have been trying to understand why this person still matters so much, why they still show up in the silence between your thoughts, why their name still carries weight even after distance, confusion, or no contact, then listen closely. Because this is not only about missing someone, it is about unfinished emotion. It is about the parts of you that were changed by this bond and never fully returned to who they were before. And before you scroll away, ask yourself one honest question. Why does this one person still live in your mind when so many others faded without a trace? You may have told yourself many times that it is over, that it is time to move on, that thinking about them does not help you anymore. You may have tried to stay strong. You may have distracted yourself with work, with friends, with routines, with noise, with anything that could keep your mind from going back there. But even then, they return. Quietly, naturally, almost like they never left. They show up in the small pauses of your day, in the stillness before sleep, in the seconds after waking, in those strange moments when the world becomes silent and your guard drops for just long enough for the truth to rise. And the truth is simple. Something in you still feels connected, not because you are weak, not because you are stuck, but because some stories do not end the moment people stop talking. Some feelings do not disappear just because there is distance. Real emotional bonds do not follow neat timelines. They stay alive in memory, in the body, in the heart, and sometimes in the quiet corners of the unconscious where meaning lasts longer than words. If this is hitting close, keep listening, because what you feel may be less about fantasy and more about something that never found a clear ending. When someone continues to return to your thoughts without effort, it often means there is emotional energy between you that never fully settled. Something was felt deeply. Something mattered. Maybe it was never clearly defined. Maybe it was interrupted. Maybe it was intense but unfinished. Maybe both of you felt more than either of you could say. That kind of connection does not vanish just because time passes. It stays under the surface. It waits. It moves through your inner world in quiet waves. You may even start questioning yourself, wondering if you created a meaning that was never really there, wondering if you are reading too much into memory, silence, and hope. But the mind usually does not obsess over what feels fully complete. It returns to what remains open. It circles what still carries emotion. It replays what the heart has not been able to resolve. And that is why this person can still feel present even when they are physically absent. Not every bond needs daily contact to leave a lasting imprint. Not every feeling needs a confession to be real. Some connections are powerful precisely because they were never fully spoken, never fully lived, never fully understood. And if you know what it feels like to miss someone who still feels strangely close, then you already understand that silence can still hold a lot of emotion. There are moments when you feel them without any clear reason. A sudden heaviness, a warm rush in your chest, a strange sadness in the middle of an ordinary day, a quiet longing that rises for no obvious cause. These moments can make you feel confused, but they often point toward something deeper than surface thought. Strong emotional connections do not always show up in direct ways. They can move through memory, intuition, and feeling. They can stay alive beneath the structure of your daily life. And no, this does not mean you should stop living, stop growing, or wait forever for someone to return. It means only that what happened between you was real enough to leave a mark. Confusion does not erase love. Silence does not erase care. Distance does not always mean there is nothing left on the other side. Sometimes distance is just fear wearing a quiet face. Sometimes it is hesitation. Sometimes it is bad timing, emotional walls, old pain, or an inner struggle that has nothing to do with the depth of feeling and everything to do with the ability to act on it. And if you have ever felt someone matter deeply while also feeling them remain far away, then you know how painful that space can be. It is not empty. It is full of unanswered questions. You may think of them when something beautiful happens and they are still the first person you want to tell. A small win, a funny moment, a song that says exactly what you cannot, a sunset, a memory, a little detail that seems meaningless to everyone else but would have mattered to them. That is how you know the bond touched something real. Because it was not only about wanting their attention, it was about sharing life through them. It was about how their presence changed the meaning of ordinary things. And often, when someone still holds this kind of space in your inner world, it is not only because of who they are, it is also because of who you became around them. Certain people wake up hidden parts of us. They make us feel seen in a way that is rare. They reflect back a version of ourselves that feels more alive, more open, more honest, more full of possibility. And when that connection becomes distant, it can feel like losing not only the person but also access to a part of yourself that came alive in their presence. That is why the longing can feel bigger than simple attraction. It is tied to identity, emotion, hope, and meaning. So if you have been wondering why this is still hard to shake, maybe it is because that bond touched more than your heart. Maybe it touched your sense of self. Now here is the part most people do not want to admit. Sometimes the person you cannot stop thinking about may be feeling something too, even if they say nothing. People do not always express emotion clearly. Some stay silent because they are overwhelmed. Some hold back because they are afraid. Some care deeply but do not know how to move forward without risking something important. Love is not always loud. It is not always a message, a confession, or a big dramatic gesture. Sometimes it hides inside restraint. Sometimes it waits behind caution. Sometimes it shows up as distance because the feeling itself is too heavy to carry openly. A person can feel a lot and still do nothing for a while, not because they do not care, but because they care so much that the stakes feel terrifying. They may fear rejection. They may fear hurting you. They may feel unready, unworthy, unstable, or trapped by their own life circumstances. They may believe they need to fix themselves before coming closer. They may be fighting wounds you cannot see. So if you have been asking, if the feeling is real, then why are they still distant? Remember this. Love and readiness are not always the same thing. Feeling deeply does not automatically create courage. And sometimes the very depth of emotion is what makes someone hesitate the most. If this makes uncomfortable sense, stay with me, because the silence may not mean what you feared. When feelings are casual, people move quickly. They text without thinking. They reach out without fear. They speak lightly because very little feels at risk. But when someone truly matters, the whole emotional weight changes. Suddenly, every move feels important. Every word feels dangerous. Every possibility feels bigger. Real depth can make people careful. It can make them retreat, overthink, and protect themselves in ways that look cold from the outside, even when they are anything but cold inside. They start asking hard questions. What if I cannot give them what they deserve? What if I ruin this? What if my past follows me into something that could have been beautiful? What if I am not healed enough? What if I get too close and lose control? What if I lose them completely? These are not the questions of indifference. These are the questions of someone who knows the connection matters. And for a person who is not emotionally ready, that can become overwhelming. So they step back. They choose silence because silence feels safer than vulnerability. They create distance because distance feels easier than exposing how much they really feel. And on your side, that can be heartbreaking because you feel the pull, but you cannot understand the pause. You sense the bond, but you cannot force clarity. And that is the cruel part of deep connections. Sometimes both people feel something real, but one or both are still wrestling with fear, timing, or the unfinished work inside themselves. This is why your emotions can shift so suddenly. One day you feel calm, detached, almost free. The next day, one song, one place, one thought, one tiny reminder pulls everything back with full force. That does not mean you are failing. It means healing is not a straight line. Your conscious mind tries to move forward and protect you. Your emotional world still holds the bond in a softer, deeper place. These two parts do not always move at the same speed. So be careful not to judge yourself too harshly when the thoughts return. Let them come. Notice them. Learn from them. Pay attention to what rises with them. Is it warmth, grief, hope, regret, tenderness, fear? Your emotions carry information, and if you stop fighting them for a moment, they often reveal what the connection has really been teaching you. Maybe it is showing you how deeply you can love. Maybe it is teaching you patience. Maybe it is teaching you not to chase what must choose you freely. Maybe it is guiding you back to your own worth. Maybe it is preparing you for a clearer answer, whether that answer arrives as reunion or release. Either way, this connection is shaping you. Even if it never becomes what you once imagined, it is still changing you from the inside. And sometimes that is the hidden purpose of a bond that refuses to disappear. What matters most now is not forcing an outcome, not trying to control their timing, not building your whole future around silence and signs. What matters is understanding that what is meant for you will never require you to abandon yourself. Real love may ask for patience, yes. It may ask for growth. It may ask for trust, but it will not ask you to lose your dignity, your peace, or your sense of self while waiting in pain forever. So hold the truth with both hands. This connection may be real. Their feelings may be real. The distance may also be real, and all of that can exist at the same time. You do not need to turn your pain into fantasy, but you also do not need to call your heart foolish for recognizing depth where others see only silence. Some bonds take time to reveal what they really are. Some return later with clarity. Some leave lessons instead of lasting presence. Some never become a relationship, yet still remain one of the most meaningful emotional experiences of your life. That is why you must stay open without losing yourself. Feel what you feel. Honor what mattered. But keep moving. Keep growing. Keep becoming whole even before you receive the answer you want. Because your life does not pause just because your heart is still listening for someone far away. And maybe that is the deepest truth of all. The person you cannot stop thinking about may love you in ways they have never found the courage to show, or they may simply represent a chapter that woke something powerful in you and changed your life forever. Either way, the reason they stay in your mind is not small. It is not meaningless. It is not random. It is tied to emotion that touched you deeply and left a lasting echo. So if they still appear in the quiet, if your heart still reacts before your mind can explain it, if distance has not erased the feeling, then stop calling yourself broken for that. Some connections are slow, some are silent, some are unfinished for longer than expected. But not every unfinished story is asking you to wait. Sometimes it is asking you to understand. Sometimes it is asking you to grow. Sometimes it is asking you to trust that clarity is being formed somewhere beyond what you can see right now. And if one day the distance closes, it will happen because both hearts became ready, not because one heart kept suffering louder than the other. Until then, let this be enough. What you felt was real. What you feel now matters. And whether this bond leads to reunion or release, it is teaching you something unforgettable about love, about longing, and about the quiet strength of a heart that still knows how to feel deeply.